an exhaust, a shifter, wheels. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. So if you are anything like me, you probably make very calculated decisions, especially when it comes to purchasing an item, because you want to get the best one that you can afford because you can't afford to buy it twice. Now, I spend so much time researching and buying things. Some people might think that I would be, I guess you could say, dwelling on the item, but it's really because I want to get the thing that's going to fit me best for the longest period of time so I can save money in the long run. And because I think many of you are like me out there, especially when it comes to buying something like this Glock 43X MOS here, and because Glock has given us the options of the shorter yet still stout 43X version or the 48, which has a little bit of a longer slide, we're going to talk about what are the real differences between these two, both in size, comparability, how they feel out on the range, and of course how they carry on the range, because they're pretty expensive still for the size of pistol they're on, anywhere from like $550 to $650 depending on where you find them at. But then we're also going to discuss, should you have one and then want the other, how do you get to have both but not spend 2 times the money? So we're going to go ahead and get into these and talk about the big differences between the 43X MOS and the 48, and then of course talk about all the options and upgrades and like everything you'll see here on this. And I'll have that all at the build list should you want to pick anything up. Then of course we'll talk about how you have both. So spec wise, what are the real differences between a 43X series and the 48? When it comes to what the 43X and the 48 series actually are, they are both striker fired 9mm pistols. You are going to get not a single stack, but not a double stack. So it's kind of like an offset magazine design in there, and that's going to give you that 10+1 capacity for both of these pistols. You're going to have an optics ready version and a standard iron sights version. You can get both of those, and it's really up to you which one you want to go with. You're going to have a single slot on that accessory rail out front, so you can put your lights or any other doodads you want, say something like a mini bayonet. The 43X has a 3.39-inch barrel, where the 48 is going to have a 4.01-inch barrel. So not a huge difference, but there is overall about a ½ inch of difference in the length of the overall pistol from one to the next. You will get front and rear serrations on both pistols, and they are very usable, easy maneuver around, and they get the job done. And when it comes to the weight of these things, you're going to have about 19 ounces on the 43 and about 21 on the 48. So again, not a huge difference. As far as that slide coating goes, they're both going to be the NDLC, which is a durable and very nice, deep, dark black finish on it. And the trigger, it's a Glock trigger. Nothing to write home about. It's a duty or combat style trigger. It's going to do everything you need it to do out there. It's going to give you the Glock reliability, the Glock durability, but there are plenty of things you can do to that again, and we'll talk more about that with my personal 43X. So now that you really know what these both are, what is the real difference when it comes to feel and performance of these things? So the 48 gives you like about a ½ inch more barrel. What is that really going to do for you? Quite honestly, not a ton. You're going to get marginally higher velocities out of your ammo, but since this is a smaller pistol meant for like, self-defense encounters, and yes, it can be fired from 75 or 100 yards. I've done it personally. If you got good fundamentals, you're going to get good hits. But in all honesty, that extra velocity out of that ½ inch really isn't going to do a lot for you. And if you think it is, you might just be getting too into the weeds on the numbers. And again, with that extra length of the slide, you will get a little bit more distance between the front and the rear sight. That is known as a sight radius. But again, it's not going to make a huge difference in your accuracy or anything like that, even at longer distances. I have regularly taken my 43X MOS out here to 75 or even 100 yards, as many other people on YouTube have done. It's very capable. Again, fundamentals are going to make all the difference. So that additional sight radius, even though some people love to quote that, for me, it just doesn't make a difference. Now that recoil control, and this is where people really get wrapped around the axle, because yes, longer slide pistols as compared to this. Say I was comparing this to a Glock 34, which is inches longer. There's going to be a drastic difference in the recoil management and control, and the ease of being able to keep that pistol from flopping up and down on you too much as you're pulling the trigger. Again, your fundamentals, if you watch the videos, are going to allow you to keep this thing very flat just due to the overall size, because whether you have the 43X or the 48, it's got the same frame on it. So it's going to give you the same size and the same ability to control that recoil while still minimizing the size of a pistol. And honestly, for me, and I know some people may disagree, I don't notice a damn bit of difference between the 43X and the 48 when it comes to recoil. I'm sorry, I just don't. Maybe it's because I grip the thing good, or maybe it's just because it's so minimal that it really doesn't make a noticeable difference on the range. Where I will say there is an actual pretty noticeable difference is carrying these things around all day, because even though you don't really notice that ½ inch as far as sight radius or velocity or even muzzle control or recoil control for me, what I notice is when I'm carrying my 43X as compared to a 48, I definitely feel the difference in size because I carry mostly appendix. So even though it's only a ½ inch longer, that is the biggest difference for me that I notice, is carrying the thing around concealed. When I'm wearing my shorts and I want to carry something light, I go with the 43X to that 48, put that slide on there, and I just notice the 48 more. And if you think a ½ inch doesn't matter, just ask your girlfriend and see what she says. All right, since you've made it this far, if you like these videos or getting like real and honest information and reviews on things that you might be interested that help you out, consider smashing that subscribe button for me, because since those rules were kind of changed and things happened and some channels got taken down and all that stuff over the past couple months here on YouTube, and I personally had to take down almost like a year's worth of content here. And then I had to edit like 400 other videos almost to make sure that I was gonna still be within policy to stay alive on the platform here. Things have been really weird as far as analytics and the channel growth and everything. So if I could ask you a favor, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you're first time here, make sure you smash that subscribe button. If you've been here before and you're subscribed, double and triple check that, because there's been a lot of messages popping up from all kinds of different channels out there saying that people have been unsubscribed. It would be a huge favor. I would love you for it. And let me know in the comments what you would like to see on the next video here at Tactical Considerations. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the overall performance of the 43X and the 48, and then talk about how you can have both, but not spend twice the amount of money. So overall, whether it's the 43X or the 48, the performance for me has been phenomenal. I love both of them, and I am not a huge Glock fan. I like Glocks for what they are, but they're like buying the base model Honda Civic with the expectation that you're going to put a tune kit, a turbo, an exhaust, a shifter, wheels, everything on that in the future. There's a lot that can be done to them, because out of the box they run, they're durable, they're reliable, but they're just not great right out of the box. But you are going to get an amazing pistol that's going to work for years as long as you take care of it. It's going to be extremely accurate, and you're going to be able to carry the thing around with you on the daily and not have something that's too big or too bulky. So that is a huge positive for the 43X and the 48 as a whole. The one area of performance, whether it's the 43X or the 48, that I really notice is, even though the size of this thing compared to the size of my hand, it's really about as small as you can get while still maintaining a large enough profile to where you can get a full hand on there, even if you have XL, double XL size hands, because it's not much smaller overall, like length and height wise with the pistol grip, than a 19, but it's quite a bit thinner and overall smaller. So it's about small as you can get without being so small that you feel like you've got like your wife's dainty little something in your hand, or that it's just meant for somebody with a smaller hand. So size-wise, I think they kind of did get that perfection thing, and I can't believe that just came out of my mouth, but that's probably the only time I'll ever say perfection and Glock in the same sentence. Now, if you can't make up your mind between like the 43X and the 48, because you'll notice I haven't held up a 48 because I don't have one. The 48 in the video that you've been watching, it actually belongs to a friend of mine, but there is a way to have both of them without spending 2 times the money. And the reason for that is because other people are now making slides for the 43X or the 48 in the aftermarket that you can buy, and you can either swap your parts over, or you can just, you know, buy a full complete slide like this Zafiri Precision one right here. So whether you got a 43X or whether you have a 48, like I said, the frame is exactly the same, and I'll show you what I mean right here. So as you can see, because it's the same trigger, the same light, It is the exact same frame. I just threw my Zafiri Precision Glock 48 slide on there. So you really can have both of these depending on how you want to go about it. So you can spend a lot of money and get a whole Zafiri Precision slide like this, which is amazing, and that barrel's ported. And I can't wait to do the video on this thing because I really think it's going to make a big difference in how this thing fires and feels overall, because there's what, 1, 2, 3 ports on each side of that barrel. That's going to make a huge difference in how it feels. But you can also get budget options like from Brownells. They have slides, which I've put thousands of rounds through the 2 that I have, and you can get them for I think like 149 bucks. And then you can buy a barrel for like 105. And if you really want some iron sights or just, you know, want to run an optic, you can do that too. But you can get a basic set of iron sights for 45. So if you do the math on that, you can get a good slide from Brownells, a barrel, and a set of iron sights for like right around a little under 300 bucks probably. And I'll put all that stuff at the build list for you, but that's a heck of a lot better than 550 or 600 for another gun. And you get to have both of them, and you can just swap parts over. Now, if you want to go the full Monty and get a full built slide like the Zafiri Precision one right there, you can. You can buy all of the parts kits for the slide. You can buy the sights. You can buy the recoil spring. You can do anything you want. But the cheapest way is just to, in like 2.5 minutes, swap your parts from one slide to the next. But some people just want the ease of being able to go from one slide to the next just immediately on the fly. So in a nutshell, if you can't decide between the 43X size or the 48 size, just buy one because you can get the other later for a pretty decent deal. Well, that's what I've got for you all today on the 43X versus the 48. And for those of you who want to see the full video on the Zafiri Precision slide, I will be working on that very, very soon. So I'm really curious to know, which one did you guys start with? Did you start with a 48 length, or did you start with a 43X, and do you wish you would kind of piss backwards? Or now that you know that you can just go buy a completely different slide, is the world all good again for you? Remember, that build list is linked down below. It'll have everything you saw here today in case you want to pick anything up. Subscribe to the channel, double and triple check to make sure you're still subscribed. Leave that comment down below, like the video. Huge thank you to all of my Patreons and everybody else that has supported the channel, because things have really been cool meeting everybody out there in public at the events and all the companies I've worked with, and of course staying in touch with the Patreons. Get out on the range, have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.